All right. Hello, everyone. Getting the hot mics here. There we go. And that should have us started. Perfect. All right. Today's Q&A day. You guys direct the call. I'm just here to facilitate questions. No, this is one of my favorite parts of the day. We usually go a little bit over on Mondays, and that is just fine. I do have a interview with a new employee here 30 minutes after the hour, so we definitely have a hard cutoff then, but otherwise, ready to get rocking. We'll go in the order the hands come up. If you have related questions, continue to ask them until we fully answer your question. If you have unrelated questions and just multiple, just hop to the back of the line once you ask your most pertinent question, and we'll continue to answer your questions. Just making sure that we keep rolling through everyone. We have about 6 hands up already, so I will get right to it. First one up is Heiner, and we'll go from there.
Hey, Christian.
Hey,
Christian, when looking at another state, one of the things I like to do is look at like the walkability score of a particular address. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it's basically where you look at how close the transit is and how close are errands
yeah.
to the individual. And in my opinion, I just think that's a factor to an extent. How much of that do you think that I should look at, especially if I'm looking at another state?
Um, Walkability score will matter a little bit less than your state. If you specifically in New Jersey and New York,
Right.
walkability is a much bigger factor. Much bigger factor. It does matter. It's an important thing. You want to be in walking distance of a lot of amenities and
Okay.
be able to get around places. So I view it, but I don't view it as heavily as I would in a New York or New Jersey, where it is less traditional for everyone to have a car to go everywhere.
No, that's what I'm saying. So, like, if I'm looking at Ohio, right? To what extent do you think I should pay attention to that?
I
It
would
shouldn't be
I
that
would
high
say
of
it's
a-
probably less than half as important, but still a good metric of how populated of an area are you actually in.
because people drive, right? Okay, I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
Um, and my second question is, are you gonna have that skip tracing thing available? Because I kind of want to use it for Ohio.
I am
It,
working very hard on it. My goal is to have the app out this week. All of the individual pieces work really well. I had my final launch demo, and I was like, "Oh, we have some problems here." Um, One of the problems being the dev team got every function right, but every single property was a picture of a white house. And I was like, so what about, I'm like, will this be different in the live version? They're like, oh no, that wasn't in the scope of work. I'm like, did anyone at any point think like perhaps being able to see what property you're looking at is like an important feature? Apparently not. So we found a new data provider for that particular piece. They're integrating it right now. There's a few things like that. It's done, but it's not done, if that makes sense. I have some workflow pieces to finish hammering out. It's close. Hopefully the next few weeks we're live. But I had to pull it before submitting for approval to the App Store. I think we're going to be done this week with development and correct, and then it launches to the App Store, and then they take their time to approve it. So I think we're probably 2 to 3 weeks out again. Um,
you
I'm
you know
trying to
more
get
or
it
less
live.
how much you're gonna charge?
It will depend on. I had a price, which was going to be about $45 a month. However, which is basically just above that cost for all the data. The image thing's going to have an additional cost, and so I have to do some figuring. It'll be a little bit more expensive because they didn't scope it correctly, but it's not going to be a lot more expensive. It will be way less expensive than Reonomy or PropStream or anything else.
And that's actually gonna be my follow-up question. Um, so I guess in the meanwhile, I guess I should use those, right?
Yeah, Reonomy is pretty good. Apparently, Cruxy's paid stuff is actually pretty good. I haven't used it myself, but apparently they're rolling out some cool stuff too. But I will keep you guys posted as soon as I know for sure every feature of the app works correctly.
Okay.
There was a cohesion thing when I was doing the final demo where I was just like, there's some things that don't work logically the way that they should together. So we're
Okay.
just patching a few things and it's ready to go. Functionally, it's there.
Okay. I'll wait for it then. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming soon. Dan,
Christian, hey, how's it going?
very good.
Good, good, good. So I presented
Hey,
a property on Tuesday last week. Fell apart, bunch of things wrong with that specific asset. Found a different one close to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I think I like it. I'll bring it up tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've been talking with the realtor off and on all week. He said, "Hey, I have a couple lenders I want you to talk with." I said, "Okay. I mean, we don't have it under contract, but I can talk to them." And over the course of a couple 10-ish minute conversations, it came up a couple different terms of debt that they can provide. And I said, "Do you offer non-recourse loans for under $2 million?" And they said, "No, it generally has to be 3.5 million." And I said, "Okay, good to know. Thanks so much." And then we hang up and I think, well, that's not going to work. And my thought is, how do you go about finding the right lenders?
Finding the right lenders. The first thing that I like to do is I want to look local. So with lenders, I want to, generally speaking, the best terms you're going to get with lending is going to be your local and regional banks. The larger the bank, the less interested they are in smaller or mid-sized multifamily. The big banks want to do major markets and place a lot of money. That's not always exactly the right thing. So, like my best lender for Stephenville, if I'm not doing arduous agency debt, I'm going to Members Trust Federal Credit Union. Small little federal credit union, middle of downtown. Their underwriting takes like no time. And I've had a couple deals where like, oh, your future DSCR is amazing. Your current one doesn't meet our standards. We'll just offer you a lower payment until next year so that you hit the DSCR. Like wonderful. They'll just tailor it to the deal and they're super easy to work with. That's usually what happens with the with local and regional. That's always the first place to go for banks.
Okay, perfect. I'll check that out. Thank you.
Yeah, bigger the bank, generally speaking, the worse.
Okay.
Usually, unless your deal's huge, in which case now we kind of flip flop the other way. And by huge, I mean over 100 units.
Right. Yeah, this guy caught me off guard because he's regional, and I thought that it would be, like you said, kind of like a small local credit union. And then he said, "Oh yeah, it has to be 3 million or above." So
Yeah, and some banks will just have their own things. There's always a bank, and there's a lot of banks that have there's a lot of banks that will have like an actual like in their charter they have to place X amount for small business. That's pretty common for local and regional banks as well.
good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll let a few more people in here, and we will jump to Twee.
Hey, Christian.
Okay.
So on the deals that we talked yesterday,
Yes.
I talked with the broker this morning, and he basically said, "Yeah, I never encourage anybody to not submit an LOI. So go ahead and submit an LOI, whatever you got." So when we talk, we basically say that at first we do kind of an offer based on straight bank financing. He think that most likely the seller would not accept kind of anything that's around that ballpark, but he's still say just put in the LOI. So my question is, should I kind of put another option for seller finance? So like option one, bank finance, option two, seller finance, or just keep it as with straight bank finance.
There's different thoughts on this. My preference is to not offer multiple options. I want to offer the option that I want to get accepted the most. And so what I've found is that if I was to do a letter of intent, I rarely do them, but if I do a letter of intent, which sounds like what might be needed here, the ones that go like, "Hey, I have an option A, an option B, and an option C," I just look at them and I go, "This is the one that I hope they accept," and that's the one that I write. Because if they counter it, I can get more creative, If they accept my favorite one, that's what I want to do. So I actually want to leave the least amount of options on the table. And I'll just let the broker know, hey, if we need to rework this, if they want to get creative, we can do that. What I'm going to submit is what works conventionally.
Okay. Good thing. Because I was like, start dropping the LOI. I was like, no, maybe I should put, because it seemed like they're open to seller finance, but the term, it's like two, on the offering memorandum, like 2 years, 6%. I'm like, yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
not going
that
to work
doesn't that
any of
doesn't
those.
help. Yeah, that doesn't help enough. That's like it's a little less expensive than bank financing, and it's super short term. So I'm like, okay, um, let's submit a conventional offer that will get them cashed out and avoid the short term debt altogether. Submit that, and then if they need to counter, then we can start playing around with what the terms actually need to be. But I think for right now, I think I like it lower price bank finance better than trying to blend in some seller financing at short term.
I agree. Because between the two, I was like, I would just rather go straight bank finance for this one. All right. And then my other question is on the due diligence period. What is a typical due diligence and closing timeline that should put in LI?
On that size deal, probably 21 days for due diligence. Always fine to ask for 32, but probably 21 days and a 60-day close is probably correct for that size deal.
Okay, so 21 and 30. 21 seemed really short though.
What was that?
So I say 21 days seemed really short. It was like 3 weeks. What all in the due diligence? I feel like there's a lot that go into that.
There's a lot that goes into it, but there's not actually a lot that takes a ton of time. The most important one is you want to get the inspection scheduled so you can get that done. But you would schedule an inspection, and then a lot of it's going to be the financial review. I have a due diligence checklist that you can do in the downloadable section of the course, but like your main things you're looking for are leases, bank statements, rent roll. If you're requesting estoppel letters. If I didn't mention already, I want their P&Ls and physical inspection. Those are like your main things. If I get all those, inspection, usually can get one done within 2 weeks. Financial due diligence, I have the timeline start when all of the requested docs are received. So the actual countdown starts once I've received all of those requested docs. Now my 21 days starts, and it doesn't take 21 days to go through all the financials. It's pretty quick.
Okay, you say you have, I think I saw it on Mighty Network, the due diligence checklist. Is
Yep.
that, should I include that within the LOI kind of to set expectation, or just to have like lead due diligence 21 day and that's it, and we'll work out what all included in that later?
Yes. Right on the purchase and sale agreement, you want to list out the things that you want in your due diligence. It doesn't need to go in the LOI. It will go in the due diligence. On the purchase and sale agreement, you'll list out what things need to be received to start due diligence.
Okay. And then so closing, 60 day is from an executed PSA, right?
Correct.
Okay, and same with due diligence is from the executed PSA plus, yeah, and after all the request document is received,
Yes.
correct? Okay. Sorry, one last one. So between LOI, like when we agrees on the term in LOI, then we'll just drop the purchase and sale agreement immediately? Is that how it works?
Yep. When the purchase and sale or when the LOI is drafted and accepted, one of the two parties will draft a version of the PSA. It can be the buyer or the seller. But one of you drafts the PSA, sends it to the other one, and the other one signs it, or makes edits and counters it, and then you guys go back and forth on the details of the PSA. Which sometimes there's stuff that comes up that's different than the LOI or that needs to be added that has a little bit of negotiation. So for my big deal, the 144 unit, that one needed an LOI because it's just enough going on where we needed to put out all the bullet points. They wrote a draft. Their draft didn't have all the protections I like to have for myself. And so we added a whole bunch of extra legal, and most of it's just little timeline and liabilities and default language. We went through the contract, sent them our redlined version. They then countersigned the redline version, then we signed their signed version. So it goes back and forth a few times, or it can. But I mean, the general flow: agree on an LOI, draft a PSA. Both parties make sure they like the PSA, and then your mutual and your 60 days starts.
Okay. And earned money deposit, is the general rule is 1% of the offer price?
General rule is 1% of the price, and I usually ask. It's accepted like half the time. I usually ask that the earnest money is due after we're done with due diligence, just so I don't put money into account and then have to pull it back out.
Okay, that's a good point. After due diligence, do I need to put that in LOI or just just put in
No,
1%?
no. Those are all just in the PSA. You don't need to lay out all of that. LOI should just be the deal, the terms, the earnest money, what type of financing you're going to be receiving, and it should be pretty basic.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Henry.
Yes, thanks, Christian. Really appreciate all the information you've been sharing and your generosity with your time.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I have two questions. One is philosophical and one is practical. Um, is it possible to make money and do good at the same time? I've had lots of experience that say to me that you can't, but I want to believe that you can. But I want to hear your perspective on that.
I will give a practical example. The 38 plex, and I'll caveat this with this is doing good while raising rents. The 38 plex, when we first bought it, had two. That was a rough property. I've done a lot of beautiful properties that have no drama. This one was high drama. We also made a ton of money. Two different main drug dealers lived in opposite sides of the campus from opposing gangs. Super, super, super dangerous, high violence. That property has had more murders than any other property in Grant County. It had gone down a lot when we purchased it. It used to be outside of the city line where the cops wouldn't come. It got absorbed into the city later. So it wasn't as dangerous, but I mean, like really, really gnarly stuff. And so when we came into that project, we got the bad tenants out, we solved the drug issues, we got a police presence there, we towed the vehicles. Part of how we got a safer community, it's still one of the most affordable places in Moses Lake. But rents were like $400 and now they're $900, which is still ultra affordable in Washington State. That's crazy affordable. What happened is the just super rough, super nasty tenants did not hit the income qualifications for that building. What happens now is with the income, we have renovated units. With the cash out refi, we bought out the partners. We put on new siding. We put on new windows. We repaired one roof. There's now, where there used to be violence issues, there's a Bible study that's held in the back courtyard because people actually feel safe there. There's kids that can run around freely back there, which used to not be the case. There's some really rough stories there. But overall, on that one, I made personally, because I owned it with Cody, I cashed out $780,000 from that property, which is a lot of money. That's actually a lot of money. And back then, early in my career, that was an unbelievable amount of money. I couldn't believe that we did it. We did a good thing. We did a really good thing for a very hard project in a community. That was on market for 12 years because no one else was willing to do it. So my philosophical approach to this would be, yes, I feel that I've done a very good job making a safe community. I've shared this story rarely on the mentorship. This is going to mess up my recording, but I'm going to pause it. Give me a second. There we go. We talked about great things that are definitely within the rules for all listening to this recording. Nothing. We do nothing suspicious in our portfolio ever. I hope that answers your question as directly as I can. You had a another question, if I recall, on more operational. Do we still have him, or did he get muted? He might have dropped. I might have answered a big question very personally and then not actually had it heard. Everyone else, you've learned a thing.
So I'm Henry's partner, and I don't know what happened. He must have dropped.
That's okay.
I had
Hopefully, I answered the question adequately. Do you know what number question number 2 was?
No, I gotta check on my phone. He probably texted me. Hold on.
No problem. Oh, there we go. He's popping back in now.
Well, Henry, are you ready for your second question? He said my phone overheated.
Aha.
Are you
I
there?
tried to do mentorship one time. No, it wasn't mentorship. It was YouTube. While Cody and I were in a sauna, and I didn't realize that phones overheat. It lasted like 2 seconds. I was like, oh, oops.
I'm gonna ask him by text. I have a quick question. I saw a property in Donna, Texas.
Yeah,
Are you familiar with Donna, Texas?
I am not, but I am familiar with Texas.
It's a 12 unit for 790.
Hmm.
And maybe we could do the analysis. You do analysis on Wednesday, is that right? Or I forgot
On
what day.
Tuesday. And absolutely, we
Tuesday,
can do it tomorrow.
Okay, yeah. Maybe we can. Maybe I can have Henry presenting the analysis tomorrow. And
Perfect.
he has not responded with a question. So I guess it would be for another time. Thank you.
That's okay. Technically, we're supposed to ask one at
Oh,
a time
here.
anyway, so.
Back. I think I saw him. I think I saw him somewhere.
Yeah, I'll get him plugged back in if he wants to put his hand back up
Oh,
again.
here
We'll
he is,
circle
but
through
he's
again.
on mute. Henry, can you unmute yourself?
That's okay. I will circle back. We'll grab question number 2 next. I'm going to jump to Mark, and then we'll dive in.
Number
Mark.
2, I just asked you, it was about Donna.
Okay.
All right,
Perfect.
thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Mark.
Happy Monday. Thank you for sharing that story. It's a great story and parallels what we're looking to buy to some extent. My son Drew walked it Friday with the on-site and the property manager, found a vagrant in one of the vacant units. So just that kind of lack of vision on it's a brand new on-site, been there a week, but I would think one thing you check is the vacant units, just to see if they're ready to lease. And they missed it. So is that an indication that that one is just usual for that grade of property, or is that sounding more troublesome? I don't have your dueling drug dealer shootout.
Yeah, that was bad. The hotel conversion had another version of that, but again, like those are properties that were like explicitly, we always knew they were hard. Like we bought them because there's a problem to solve. For that property, probably not. I'm having, especially in any state on the West Coast, having squatters in a property is just such a common occurrence. I wouldn't say it's necessarily indicative of anything else, just because it happens so much. I don't get very political on these calls, but that is a very specific, politicians hate landlords. They in those states, that is one of the things that they've made too easy to do, so people do it. You don't really get a lot of that often in most places in Texas. I mean, if you're in a really rough area, sure, but it's more common in California, Washington, and Oregon than it is in other states. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a problem. It means that they've done a terrible job managing it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'd be a new sheriff in town and manage all that new criteria for the on-site. So following up on your story, Another person in my sphere says one of the things they wish they'd done earlier in their career was avoid such troublesome properties because it took so much time and focus. It kept them from finding other deals.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts on that perspective?
It depends on what you want to do. I enjoy taking on one hard project at a time, and then everything else needs to be stabilized and it roughly turnkey. I can do stuff where like, hey, there's a little bit of value out here, but I do pretty easy projects and I like to take on one just massive one. So like right now, the 9 unit, 3 retail spaces and 6 multifamily, everything needs to be renovated. Huge project. Super fun. Very rewarding. I'm taking a terrible building in an awesome part of town and I'm making it like brand new. And that's going to be personally really fun. It also will make a lot of money, but it's just a good project. I'm not taking on other heavy reno projects in the middle of that project because I don't, that's where you just get bogged down. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. But that's been my answer to it is I can do one that's time and resource intensive as long as I'm doing other stuff that's not. I don't just stack them all at the same time. I've had friends who've tried that, and one of them is the richest friend that well, second richest friend that I have. The other one went bankrupt. So you kind of end up somewhere
Okay.
between the two if you only do hard projects. You're rolling dice that have better and worse outcomes. If you roll all those at the same time, sometimes you get a bad roll. I try not to stack a lot of those on my deck. I like boring real estate a lot.
Okay. The other thing Drew found is he went by planning, and with our ADU rules in California, we can probably convert all the retail to ADUs without worrying about parking.
That's one of the
So,
best rules that California ever came out with, by the way.
yeah,
Just saying, like, okay, also, this just supersedes zoning. You can put housing anywhere. It's you do that to a certain extent in Washington State. California is the best state, period, to do ADUs. It's like everything can be turned into another unit.
so it just makes it such a fat plum. It's tough to ignore, and the rest of it, we don't have your level that you were sharing of issues, but just lots of delinquency, vagrancy to straighten out. Homeless think it's part of their daily path. So changing security systems so strangers can't get in so easy. It's somebody on the inside probably sharing access. So we'll find those tenants and chase them out on lease rules. But
Mhm.
I guess I'm
Yeah,
just trying to be balanced on that one. That is it chasing such a huge return that I'm ignoring the problems it's going to cause that I'm not thinking of yet.
I think it's priced in pretty well just based on the deal that you're looking at. The
Okay.
the first thing I would do on that, so it's a medium hard project. It's not crazy. It's none of the like the first one I I I don't generally deal with like super heavy. I had that one deal that was just crazy heavy population and maintenance turn. On a deal like that, the best thing to do is if you can get one or two tenants in the building who are really like your key eyes and ears tenants. There's enough units there where you definitely have a couple people there who do want a better building.
Okay.
You basically have them. You just work a deal with them. Say like we're not going to be raising your rent, or we're gonna. I usually do something that's lightly monetary, and just go, hey, if you can do this for us and just report these things and keep an eye and let us know what's going on a regular basis. Come up with a schedule. I have one guy. Is actually at that super rough building. His name's Tony. He would like his job was basically, hey, can you walk the campus every single night and report anything that you see suspicious? Can you make sure they're not vandalizing my cameras to the extent that you can? They found a route to come up the back of the building, come over the cameras and spray paint them. So like, that sort of stuff. Um, I had a couple of eyes and ears people, and what I did with him is rent there at the time was $800. I locked his in at 750 and I said, "Hey, I won't increase your rent ever while you are here. Your rent is locked in." He also had the biggest unit in the entire campus. So I'll give you the best unit. I'll give you reduced rent. I need you to help me keep everything safe. And he helped a lot.
Okay. How did
So
you pick them?
I picked him because he was a very well-known ex-con who has friends who are scarier than the scary people in my property. And so for him, he was the obvious pick because he was like, hey, if you have a really bad problem, I can have scarier people show up and resolve it. I'm like, don't do that, but also good to know that we have that in our back pocket.
Okay.
He is a big guy who everyone likes, respects, and he can fix basically everything. So he had a whole list of like, he's just good to have around, and I like him, and he's just a really good person. He did like 20 years in prison, and he came out a different person. And I met him 15 years after he's been out of jail. He's an older guy. I'm like, you are perfect. You have been through rough stuff. You're super nice. You're easy to work with. He was my tenant at another property. I just moved him to the harder property and said, hey, this one's rough. I'm going to give you a huge unit and a big discount. He's like, okay, I'm in. So
Okay.
that works for me. I'm not saying you have to do that, but there's every building I have, there's always one tenant who's the most communicative, who always appreciates giving feedback. I would look for that tenant. This building's gonna make it way easier.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So the landlord is about to sign a 10-year laundry contract for at least laundry services right as we're negotiating. Is that um, something I should stop so we can see the terms? Something I should stop because an own laundry's better, or just let stuff like that go?
Oh no, I love contracted laundry. You do basically nothing and you have an income stream. You just share the income stream, but you don't have to manage a whole laundry facility. You're not responsible for the machines. They're amazing.
But
I want to
I
review the
hear
contract.
they're slow to maintain those, so you're splitting revenue, but if they're not fixing them, they're broken, there's no revenue to split, is what I've
Usually the
heard.
contracts cover a reasonable time in which they need to get those done
Okay,
as far as repairs. That's usually what I've seen in mine. Is like if I'm not paying them if they leave a broken laundry machine there for 3 months, that's not like. Then again, there's no it's all rev share in most of those, but I usually put in the contracts, or at least see in the contracts, a service requirements and how often they're supposed to come out to service. I've had
mhm,
nothing but good Washington and Texas. I've had nothing but really positive results with laundry vendors. Personally, there's bad
okay,
vendors, all over the place for every industry, but I am 4 for 4 on just excellent, hassle free. I get a check and I don't do anything laundry facilities.
okay, thank you. On
Absolutely.
Estaples, I'm a real estate broker, so every time I have a client buy a new rental property, single family is all I've done. We always get an estoppel. Why is it flexible on multi-unit? That's what the broker was saying. He was surprised I asked for
I so it's less common in multifamily if they have good financials. So if I can check the leases to the P&L to the bank statements and everything matches, unlikely the estoppels are going to come out much differently. I usually ask on a building that size, I usually ask for a random sample. So I'll just say, hey, I'm going to pick some random occupied units. I need you guys to give me like 5 estoppels. And all this is doing is making sure that there's no discrepancies between anything else. I don't want to see you guys claimed their security deposit's 1,000 and they're saying their security deposit was 2,000. I just want to double check those things. So on this almost a 50 unit building, I'd probably say, hey, we're going to choose 8 occupied units or 5 occupied units. I'd like to do a random sampling, and it's just part of our due diligence process. If they say no, it's not a deal breaker for me, but it begins to be a problem if they're like their books are looking bad, the bank statements are really confusing, the leases are inconsistent, and I'm like, okay, I kind of need estoppels now.
it.
So they're not required, they're preferred.
Okay, I'm made a deal where we take 75% of the tenants and they squawk, but it's in our PSA. We haven't signed it yet. That's tomorrow, but just figured, all right, I'll let them get away with some of the harder tenants to reach or whatever.
I think that's
So
I think that's reasonable.
as I'm structuring to go to the lender, half of my net worth is equities in my single family rentals.
Hmm.
How do I structure value on that so they don't negate that part and I have to find extra guarantors or a third if I'm already planning a second? Or can I structure it to look at the best possible light on that. I've just never been through that process. So as I'm building my net worth statement for the bank, how should I structure existing rentals?
Yeah, so you're looking for they're going to ask for an SREO, which is a schedule of real estate owned.
Okay.
So they're going to ask for a personal financial statement. So in that, you'll disclose all of your cash, your stock, your business holdings, your debts, and it'll ask for a schedule of real estate owned. I'm seeing if I have an example of one of mine. Let me see if I have one immediately available.
So does it ask for evaluation? Because I every month or 2 months I look at Zillow and Realtor.com to compare to see how just generally my net worth is doing. Zillow is always more favorable. Is it fair to put just Zillow value?
On the bank, you want to. So I've been instructed this by every bank. The banks want to see the most favorable possible every time.
Okay.
That's what they're after.
So go with my best numbers. Do you cite your source then?
No. You just put it on the list. I'll pull one here for everyone to see really quick. Give me just a second.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have one in my drive. I actually have some properties that are still left off this, but I need to update it again. But let me see here. Okay, now it's up. Now share screen. All the buttons are right behind the camera. There we go. Okay. So here's an example. I'm missing a few properties on here, but overall, this is like what I think is really well built out. I was sending this to someone highlighting my Texas versus Washington stuff. That's why everything's like way over color coded. I know it looks hideous. I apologize. But basically, I have the buildings here for multifamily, and then here's my hospitality. So I go building type, where it's based, how many units. Again, I'm missing a huge chunk of my Texas portfolio. So if you guys are like, wait a second, I thought Christian had more than 300 units. I have a bunch more stuff in Texas. This is 287 of my portfolio. I keep the year built, percent occupied. You can tell which ones are in lease up. I'm like a 50% here, a few 100%. Average is 83%, but again, I'm mid project on some stuff. But this is all stuff the bank asks. So the bank looks through this and goes, okay, 83 is not the best I've ever seen, but you have one at 44 and you have one at 50. This is the one that we're completely gutting and renovating. I'm actually really trying to get this to zero. I'm desperately trying to get these people out of there so I can renovate the units. Trying to get this one lower so I can finish it. This one's in lease up right now. Everything else is pretty darn stable. This one I just renovated 2 units. This will be at 100% at the end of next week. Just as a good example of what these look like. When I go to the net worth side, we go all the way down. You go like, okay, in this portfolio, net of all my partnerships. So here's my equity in all of these deals. Yes, I have one where I'm only 5%. A lot of these I own 50 to 30. A lot of stuff is like 33%. Some 25s. In the multifamily side, it's $3 million of equity based on these properties, based on my equity in those properties for the amount of ownership that I have. That's a good example of what this looks like. This is what the bank will look like in a single family portfolio. They'll look through everything. They go, this is what you owe. This is what your mortgage is. Here's your debt service coverage for this portion of the portfolio. Also notice that my personal residence is in here. So there's a 0. Don't do a debt service coverage of 0 unless, it's not income producing. So some of these averages are a little bit off because I have to disclose my house in here too. But this is what it looks like. And so, I have a couple of big properties that increase the cash flow a lot, but this is the type of stuff that you look at in a scheduled real estate owned. Bank looks at this and says, okay, based on this, you have $4 million in real estate. I'm closer to 5, but that's, again, in a full one. You submit this. This is a pain in the butt to build. Once it's built, it's super easy to update. You buy a property, you go through these lines, you stick it on the bank.
Okay. Is that in something similar in the resource folder?
No, I will add a blank copy of this. This took forever to build. This is a good resource. I will share a blank, like a fill in the blank copy. I'll have to sit down and actually like decolor code it and make sure I don't accidentally delete any of the formulas. But this will automatically add everything. So like DSCR will be calculated, your pro forma equity and expenses will be calculated. This is like the world's best schedule of real estate owned. I'll just make it look prettier and I'll put it in the course. That is a
All
good
right.
suggestion.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're about three, maybe four, 3 to 4 weeks away from Multifamily Strategy 2.0 launching, which is the moving to school and adding a bunch of cool stuff. I'll make sure it's available before that launch at the very latest.
All right. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I'll let it go and get back in line.
perfect. Lori.
Hi, Christian. Thank you so much for sharing that. You rock.
Thank
I
you.
love that kids are good. So thank you. Um,
Absolutely.
Okay, my question is financially, how do I start? I do not have a portfolio yet. And so as I'm looking at deals, like I don't have that financial backing. So I would definitely need to have a sponsor, have, someone guarantee the loans. So am I going and talking to brokers? Am I talking to people saying, hey, I don't have anything yet, but I'm looking at getting something? Like where do I even start with that?
I would start with owners and brokers. Owners are oftentimes end up being the people who partner with you anyway because they already own in that market. They're kind of like the most obvious.
Okay.
If you own a lot of real estate, you probably have a lot of money. And so a lot of those guys and gals, tend to be the ones who end up partnering anyway. So all their qualifications count, but it's always that deal debt equity principle. I don't try to raise money before I have a deal. I use this analogy very often, but it's just like, if I'm going to sell you a car, what will I be driving? I don't know, but it will definitely be nice. Probably in the
Yeah.
mid-price range. It's like, okay, what will I need down? Well, it will depend on the make and model of the thing that I find, but probably in these, of course, you're not buying that car. You're not going to give me money. But if I have the car, I can then say, who's in the market for a truck? And now truck people are like, oh, okay, I'm interested. What's the price? Well, it's a Toyota Tundra and it does what you need the deal to really dictate what type of money and how much money you even need. So you want the product first. So you want to get around the people who have the deals. With the deal, you then find a debt product, and all that time you still have time to find the equity, and you don't need a ton of network. And on the seller finance stuff, you don't need any net worth or any credentials. I've only been asked like one or two times. The bank stuff, just any of your partners needs to be able to help you qualify. So that would need, quote unquote, a sponsor, but that's probably the same person who's funding the deal.
Got it. Okay. And then what about like during that due diligence and you're trying to get, if you need to do any kind of reports or like, because all of that costs additional money, right? If you have to do anything for environment. So how are you funding that?
So usually I self fund them, but if I don't have the money, which I've had happen multiple times, so I've had two deals, one of them recently, where I'm like, oh, I'm not liquid enough for earnest money. I find one partner early in the deal, and I just let them know, hey, I'm going to be bringing on a few partners for that particular deal. The first one in gets a little incentive, so I gave them an extra 2% of the deal, and they get a portion of that money back at close. So they just got a slightly better deal than everyone else. And of course, that's disclosed. It's just, hey, this person had more risk than you guys. They joined earlier. They supported some of the fees to get this where it is. They added extra value. They got a little extra kicker. It wasn't huge, but it's, hey, this is a good deal. This is what we're raising. And if you're interested and you're willing to be the first money in, I had that for $75,000 though. It was not a big deal. I was like, I need earnest money. I need to pay another bill upcoming. I can't use my own money. I have a great deal. That's exactly what I did. Gave him 2% of a big deal, to be first money in.
But that has to be someone right?
It's someone who I know introduced me to. I made a couple calls to people I know, and none of them had it. But they introduced me to someone else. They're like, "Hey, I have an idea." So it's someone I hadn't met yet, but it was someone who I 2 degrees of separation.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you, Christian.
Absolutely. Carrie.
Hi, Christian.
Hello.
Hello there. Hey, my question is, since I spoke to you yesterday, I was able to get on Crexy, and I text messaged a broker yesterday, with interest in a property, in, Mill Creek in, suburbia Salt Lake City.
Mhm.
And, anyway, we talked earlier today, and he said, since I don't have any money to bring to the table, I have zero. I asked him if the owner would be interested in seller financing. And he said, that most likely they would be interested in a short-term seller finance. What is the difference between just a regular finance as opposed to a short-term seller finance?
So that just means the term is shorter. So usually that means it's going to be like 1 to 3 years,
Okay,
which isn't that helpful unless you have a heavy value add project. So if I had a project where we can buy it where it cash flows seller financed, but it's half vacant. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
that gives me enough time to fill this building. If I got 2 years, I have time to fill the building and then get it to qualify for conventional finance. So short-term seller financing is helpful if you're rapidly going to find a permanent debt product. That would be the correct use for short-term seller financing. So you have to win on price by quite a bit on those.
okay,
Otherwise, long-term cash flow and fixed rate debt's the rule. So we're gonna always look for a long-term product, unless you're using it as essentially a bridge to get into your permanent debt product.
okay, so, you wouldn't recommend that short term, cause I really, I mean, my credit's shot for now, I'm getting it repaired, but I
Mhm.
mean, as far as financing goes, I just don't think I would qualify for anything, on my own, but.
So if it was a few year project and it was a great deal, short-term seller financing can work because
Okay,
what are you doing? You're buying time to fix credit. It actually doesn't take that long to fix credit.
yeah,
Fortunately, you can make a lot of ground relatively quickly.
yeah,
I wouldn't do on a first deal. I wouldn't do less than 3 years. So when he says short term, you're starting to kind of push midterm of like I really need 36 months of seller financing if they're willing to do that, and the
yeah,
deal works well. I think I'm comfortable enough with that, especially with the market where it's at.
okay,
We're trending towards like another year of difficulty and then just better and better from there is what the trend is.
yeah,
But we're in a pretty good spot where I'm like, I would do 3 year seller financing if it's specifically we're getting myself or my property into fully bankable position.
okay. Well, he said that there's no vacancies, so they're all occupied, it's a nineplex.
Mhm.
And so, does that change factors at all?
No, that's just that fully occupied is usually good. Unless we're trying to, do a major rent increase. Sometimes it's actually easier to have a few vacants to get started. But
Yeah,
generally speaking, that all sounds positive.
so, so 3 year, no less than 3 years on a short-term seller finance, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then, I'm just trying to understand this, to present him with something what, I guess I could talk to you more about it tomorrow with the deals. I can talk about this deal. It's not really a deal yet, but I'm working on it. But yeah, okay. I think that is all that I had for that question, so no less than 3 years um, and what kind of terms should I say? I guess it depends, right?
Yeah. The terms are always going to depend on the deal. So without the deal in front of me, I couldn't tell you for sure.
Yeah,
But the absolute minimum would be 3 years.
okay,
The terms are going to be where it cash flows solidly. So it's going to be reasonable interest rate, but you also know that within 3 years you're going to be going to market rate. So I'm going to underwrite it, make sure it works in current debt, with current bank debt, I'm also going to make sure that it works even better seller finance. So I have great terms for my first 3 years. That'd
Okay,
be a good one to do a full deep dive on tomorrow for deal deep dive day.
yeah,
Would
that's what I
love to take a
wanted.
look at it, but yeah, if you have it filled out in the calculator for what you want to ask, that makes it really, really easy to analyze.
Right, okay, yeah, all right, I'll talk to you more about it tomorrow.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you, Christian.
Absolutely. Corey.
Um, I was just wondering, I just got off the phone with a broker about a deal, and she said I called her about one property, and she brought up another one. She said it's a good deal, but it keeps falling through because the property manager, it's a five unit, and the property manager who lives on site it sounds like the property manager is essentially sabotaging the sale, and like they can't get keys, they can't get anybody to come in and walk the property. Um, the owner lives out of state, so you know, he just wants to get rid of the property essentially. But
Okay.
the property manager up to this point was really didn't have any issues. It was a really good property manager. And the broker said she thinks that property manager just is worried about losing, not being the property manager essentially if the building sells. So I guess my question is, would you keep this person on or would you
No, no, no,
okay.
no.
That was my thought too, but
I well, I have a few different companies. I have the resort and I have property management and I have, I've done a good deal of hiring and firing. When I acquire a property that comes with employees, it's the same way as acquiring a company. Almost every time, I know this sounds a little mean, I have just found it is better for everyone, myself, the employees, the organization, the investors, to just fire everyone and start new. If the only thing we know about this property manager is that they have not been good at managing keys or allowing access, there's no way I want to keep them. Um, the analogy that I use happened to me in Moses Lake in my first year of investing. My business partner at the time, one of my partners, Adam, was in town, and Cody and I were introducing him to a broker in town who I won't name. And I was like, he's kind of on the B team, actually, really more of the C team. He's really kind. He's been really helpful to us. He's not really that good of a broker. And his answer was, "Oh, I wouldn't know anything about that. I only played select sports. I only play with A players." And I was like, "Shoot, I do want to have an A team." So my motto in business is if I want to have excellent companies, I need to have excellent people. That means I would rather just cut everyone and choose my own people. That's been that policy has served me well in business. It's a little bit brutal on acquisition, but like immediately when I hear that, I'm like, there is a 0% chance I would hire that person on. There's no way.
no, that's kind of the only reason I even was thinking is this person apparently was doing a good job beforehand, but I thought the same thing. If I wanted to sell it for whatever reason in a few years, is this person, if they're still there, are they going to do the same thing to me? And I don't
Yeah.
want my property manager holding up the sale of a deal, obviously. So,
Well, and if you want to do stuff differently in the way it's been done, what happens every time is, well, that's not the way we really like to do things, and now you're stuck. It's just like there is no one
oh
working at the
yeah.
Robin Hood Village Resort who was originally working at the Robin Hood Village Resort. I will put it that way. I've gone through 20 employees there to get the team that I like, and now I have the 8 people that I want on staff, and they're all excellent. And the resort is doing the best it's ever done. We're doing 23% better than we were at this point last year, and it's 100% because of the team. It's not because Christian's awesome. It's literally I put the right people in, and everything is working better. The guests are happier. We're booked more often, and it's all the team. So I have found that usually the old guard is not the way to do it. All we know about this person is they're currently causing problems, so I definitely wouldn't hire them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's one exception to this, by the way. Hiring people, if they have key knowledge that you need, this is kind of mean. You need to keep them on until you transfer the knowledge out of their head. I had one project where I'm like, I can't do this because I don't have the specialized knowledge. but what that person wanted for pay was above what I was willing to pay for the position. They kind of had me stuck. So I kept them on for 6 months. We transferred every awesome thing from their head into our SOPs. I created an instruction manual, and then I very kindly told them that you can take lower pay or I can hire someone else. I'm sorry, that's where the position is and how this works. They got upset. They decided to leave, but we successfully transitioned. And I put someone even better in their place. We just had to get the specialized knowledge. So the only time you keep old staff is if they have key knowledge points that you cannot transfer before the sale, and then you kind of feel like a jerk, but you kind of know like they're gonna be here temporary. It's my least favorite hiring way, but I've done that on a few projects where I'm like, I gotta keep one of them for a while. Nothing we can do about it. That's the only exception to the rule.
Got it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Heiner.
Christian, also I wanted to ask you, when I looked at a particular neighborhood in Ohio that I liked, the neighborhood was trending at a B minus, which I liked a lot. But I noticed that the school was like a D plus. Should I kind of I want to pick your brain on that.
What size units were you looking at for the deal, or was it just the market?
It was just a market. There's like 2 units that I like. One of them is like heavy studios. I'm gonna look at the underwriting first, and then I'll bring it to you. But yeah, the schools in that area in that zip code was trending like at a D minus, but the area was a B minus, a D plus, and the area was a B minus. I was like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. It was in Ohio, in Columbus.
If the school district is awful, okay, so I'm gonna look at school districts are important. For school districts, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at the surrounding areas and see if all the schools there suck. There are some areas of the country where just all the schools are bad. In which case, a D school, when all the other schools in the surrounding areas are all D's as well, non-issue. Anyone who lives there has the same quality of school available. You're not out competing, you're not competing against something better. So that's the first thing I would check is, are there notably better school districts around that one? Second, I don't care about school districts if I'm renting only 1 and 2 beds, because most families aren't that only really applies to families. The 1 beds, studios, you don't have too many families in 1 beds and studios. And by the time their kids are getting bigger, they usually move out. So if I was I would probably not want to buy a building that was all 2s and 3s in a D school district if there's a B school district in like every single surrounding area. That would likely not have a lot of families move in. So it's not your biggest factor, but I would be aware of it, and that's how I would factor for it. It's not, does the school suck, so it's not a good area. It's, does this school suck more than other schools in the area? And then am I also planning on renting to a lot of families here? Those two things need to be weighed before I really know what impact that has. I don't know anything about Ohio other than they're very landlord friendly and they're like, it's easier to cash flow
Population
there.
growth. The
I
population
don't
growth
know
is
anything about
going
their
up.
school systems though. Like no offense to anyone in Ohio. I don't know if schools just suck in Ohio or if that's an area of Ohio where the school happens to be bad and there's other great places to go. There are states that have a bunch of bad schools. Texas being notorious for having large areas with horrible school districts.
Really?
Happen to live in the
Wow.
best school districts in Texas, and my kids still won't do public school because Texas is known for not having great public schools. We just have a ton of private schools available fairly affordably because our public schools suck. That's something that we're known for. So if you had a
Okay.
bum school, but you're surrounded by 7 other counties that only have bum schools, that's not going to affect your renting there at all.
Thank you. And just one last question. There's one particular building that I'm going to underwrite. The agent should be sending me by later tonight or tomorrow, but it was all studios. Why is it? Why do certain buildings have that? Is there a reason you think, or should I be concerned if it's like all studios?
If it's all studios?
Yeah, it was like a templex, if I'm not mistaken. I think all of them were studios.
Nah, studios are fine.
Yeah.
You have they're faster to lease, and you're going to usually have more turnover because sometimes people, start dating, get older,
Right.
start a family, any of these things. But like I have some buildings that are all studios. I had at one time I had 100 studios in Moses Lake, and I had so many of them that I was able to increase rent on all of them by $100 at one time. They were all under market. It's not like I priced people out, but that was Moses was a six cap market at the time. Instantly made $2 million on a six cap. We'll do valuation this Thursday. So if anyone's like, wait, how did that work? I'll show you on Thursday specifically. But literally in a 4 day period, made $2 million. It was the
Wow.
best, and I did that only with
Wow.
studios. Only studios. So studios are fine.
Okay.
Easier to occupy, higher turn rate.
Got it. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Christian.
Absolutely. The reason that I did so well with them is that's when they were building the battery manufacturer. I bought a bunch of studios nearby, so I had a ton of construction workers who were going to be in town for 2 years building a massive facility. I knew that. And so that was good. That was hot inventory to hold right then because we had a whole bunch of, a lot of it was just a ton of single male workers moving into that market. And I knew that they were temporary, but they were going to be there on a multi-year project. So I filled the building with people where I'm like, hey, they'll pay a little premium, they'll stay. They're not home that often. They just need a place to crash. They're doing a hard multi-year project, and then they're out of here. That works just fine. That supply and demand. You just have to make sure you're in an area where studios make sense. My studios also do really well in Stephenville for
Right.
student housing.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Renee.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I was wondering how we know where we're at in our program. Like how many months left we have of our program.
At the risk of sounding cheeky, which I'm not trying to, it'll be based on whatever date you started. But I guarantee that we will work with people indefinitely, all of you, indefinitely until you are successful. Success being defined as you buy a deal that is cash flowing at least $1,000 a month, every single month. So where you are in the program, the expectation is we try to get everyone there in 6 months. That's the target. Some of my most successful students, like Marco, have taken longer. Marco's done some awesome deals. He occasionally shows up here because sometimes he wants to show a deal and deal deep dive. You're in as long as you want to be. The beautiful piece of multifamily strategy, I think what we do better than anyone else, is I don't sell you anything else and you don't have to pay to renew a subscription. You are in till you're successful. So the expected timeline, if this answers the question. So the technical answer is it is as long as you need it to be. The expected timeline, what I want people to target is in your first month is the biggest learning month. You should be writing offers around month 2 or 3, which we usually put you under contract around that time. 3 and 4, try that again. 4 and 5 is usually when we see deals close. People have done it in 30 days before. Very rare. I had someone join, find a 20-unit seller financed, 100% financed mobile home park, close it in 10 days because due diligence was easy and the financing was done and there's no money to raise. There was just there's barely any paperwork. You just sign it over, sign the note, sign the prom note, sign the deed of trust, done. It's like this thick stack of papers. So I've seen it done in the first month. Not common. Usually month 4 or 5. If it takes you longer, it is okay. You're not booted from the program. You're in as long as you need to be successful. I will continue to coach and answer your questions and make sure everyone gets there.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna, just because we're running a little tight on time, I'm going to answer some of the questions who haven't gone yet, and then if we have extra time, we'll get to the second hands. Q.
Hey Christian, how you doing?
Very good.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, I sent an LOI out for 23 units. Is it okay if you guys look at the numbers for me?
Yes, absolutely.
Share with you right quick. You seeing it?
Let's see here. I do not know.
All right, let's see this.
Am I reviewing the LOI or the deal itself? It looks like it's loading right
It's the LOI because I already have everything logged in and everything.
now. Okay.
So this was my LOI, and this is the counter. So I offer 1.25 and then 5% interest rate. He came back at 1.3 with 6.6% interest rate.
Okay.
So this is what it looked like with the LOI. This is what the numbers look like, which I like that a lot.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, and then he came back with this. It still looked pretty decent, but it's because I wanted to put 125K down.
Mhm.
Now he wants 200K down plus 6.6% interest rate. It still
That's
worked. It still
still
works
pretty good.
fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just wanted you to look at it, see what you think.
What's the loan term? How many years was it?
7. I asked for 7.
Okay. I mean, it's still great. That's a lot of cash flow day one.
The only thing I don't like about it is there's a slight decrease in the population. Median income is fine. Crime is not crazy, but there's a slight decrease in the population. That's the only thing I don't like so far.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That is a factor. I think on this one,
Mhm.
this is my instinct. That is enough cash. Where did you say this was located?
It's in Alabama, Atmore, Alabama. It's like an hour of Pensacola.
Oh, okay. I think there's enough margin on this. You're getting paid enough to offset. If population's not going up, this means you're going to be on a lower appreciation deal,
Mhm.
and it means you're going to be looking for higher cash flow. Starting at 13% cash on cash, this is still pretty significant. Is there, even with the decreasing population, is there rental upside in today's market?
Yeah, it's really cheap. This is day one rent. It's like 6 something for 7 something for a 2 bedroom, and then 7.95 for a 3 bedroom. So there's because and then this is Zillow right here, and then this is what they are currently asking right now for some of the. This is on Zillow. I mean apartment.com. Same zip code.
Oh,
So that's what the broker said. The broker says what I have right here is what the broker says, but according to apartment.com, it's like in the thousands or higher.
okay.
So I don't know which one to go by because it's like kind of I'm being conservative with these, but
Yeah, with these conservative ones, what does the exit math look like?
still at 12%.
I would just first glance at this. There's enough day one cash flow to make this deal work.
Mm-hmm.
I would really try to hone in on what we think that rent's going to be. That might be if it's hard to nail down what we think target rent's going to be. I
Mm-hmm.
might call a couple PM companies and try to get a basic estimate for the property. Just be like, hey, roughly, what do you think market is? Just so that you can get a little bit more, get a little bit better guess
Mm-hmm.
for where it's headed. Overall, though, there's enough cash flow here where I do like the deal. This makes sense to me.
Would you counter the counter?
I would. How far off are the two again? Remind me what your offer was.
Price is 50K, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah,
The
I
only
wouldn't
thing
worry
is
about the 50K.
the only thing is he's asking for one because I wanted a 7% IO only, but he came back with first 3 6.6 IO. That's really the big difference. As far as it's just the interest rate and the price is really not that big of a deal.
I'm not a big fan of just splitting the difference, but when you're close to a deal,
Mm-hmm.
I would try to come right in between what you wanted and what he wanted. I just go like, hey, let's just meet halfway and get this thing done. It works where he proposed it. It's obviously
Mm-hmm.
better where you proposed it. See if you can't come right in the middle of that, and see if he just says no, then go like, okay, well let's do your original proposal. But I think you're close enough where it's a little mod. I think you're at the very end where it's like, okay, let's just go right down the middle and see what he says.
That's what I was thinking. Meet him halfway. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of times where I'm like, I wish I just negotiated it that much more because I think they would have gone for it. This way, at least you'll know.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Houston.
Hey Christian, how's it going?
Hey, good.
So I've been talking with a couple brokers, one out in Fresno that's cash flowing, and what was his name? He was sending me a list of brokers, so I was basically going off of the broker script, and so
Mm.
I asked him how the banks are going to look at the deal, and he said we have a mortgage brokers list. You can talk with a loan for quotes. So my question was, do I go after these guys? Are probably locals in Fresno. I haven't looked at the list yet that he sent me,
Mm.
but is that usually the next step, just to go and look at the list that they sent, or should I go investigate and look into my own, or what are you thinking?
So what you're looking for with brokers, you want to get to the top of their list. And so if they're just sending you a general list, the way to start pushing your way to the top is to take the most interesting deals, actually do the underwrite, and come together with like, hey, this is what we'd look like at offering on this one and this one. What I want to show him is that when he sends me a list, I do read it, and I am capable of making offers on properties. Um, that's pretty much as far as you need to go on those.
Okay. Okay. And wait, are you referring to like the list of properties or a mortgage broker list?
Oh, sorry. I heard I might have cut out a little bit on my end. For that's for property on the mortgage broker list.
Yeah, that's what
If
he
I
sent
don't
me, was a
have a
mortgage
great
broker list.
okay, yeah, if I don't have a great lending contact for a deal already, um, I like to work with the lenders who the broker likes to work with. That is, I'd go through that list. I wouldn't bother a lender until I have the deal locked and loaded and ready to go. But if I have a deal that's looking really good, I'm like, ooh, I think I'm gonna offer on this. That's around the time. It could be right after or right before you offer, but usually right before, I would call that lender saying like, hey, I heard you've done some work with, name drop the broker there. I'm looking at a deal that he sent me. I'm looking at writing up an offer. I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. What are your thoughts on this deal? Because now you're talking about, their job and they're making money, right? That's a good way
Right.
to work the mortgage broker list is to have something to come to them with specifically. I found just calling people to build a relationship in the like like brokers or lenders or lawyers, building relationships before you have any income producing business for them usually doesn't go too far. It works better on the owner side. I want to be a little bit transactional. I want to have some transaction, like legit one to talk about. But yeah, I would start with that list.
Okay, gotcha. And when I was searching in like the Vegas area as well, and I got in touch with a broker with like a realty company called High Realty, um, and it was called at Simply Vegas, and they sent me like a what is it like a non-commitment like broker's agreement. I think I asked you about this over text.
Yeah. I don't, just as a rule of thumb, I'm like, we're not doing business yet. I'm not signing anything. I just don't sign things
Okay.
because I don't like sign. I don't want to come back later and then have to have anything happen. They usually are completely meaningless documents.
Right.
But they do these like non-disclosure agreements. I'm like, it's a listed property.
Right.
Do you want to
Understood.
sell it or not? It drives me nuts when brokers do
Right.
annoying stuff. Um, it depends though, because it's so non-important. If I'm doing like an example call with you guys and I'm calling in some market in Nebraska, just as an example,
Right.
and I'm trying to get a hold of an owner, it's like, oh, you have to sign this agreement. I'm like, cool, click, sign. I'm calling them. Um, it does. They don't really mean much, and a broker will never
Gotcha.
enforce it. But
Right.
I also just don't like putting my name on stuff with it that has nothing to do with anything. Just on principle, I usually just say no.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to get on these people's bad side. I was on my way to a job. I was at Home Depot talking to this realtor and
Yeah.
she was giving me a bunch of numbers. And the funny part is like they've sent since they sent me that broker's agreement, they've sent me a bunch of stuff. Like they sent me a portfolio of fourplexes in Vegas that are for sale. And and it's 12 units, the portfolio.
Mhm.
Um I haven't run the numbers on it yet because I need a little more info to like get a valid number. But every every time I've run in like numbers on anything they've sent me, it's been a negative cash flow. Like
that will happen. The way to start working this is you let them know specifically, like you actually work the deal and you start putting together an actual offer like, hey, I can offer on this and this is where it cash flows. And so what they get used to is, oh, okay, you will buy stuff. It does have to cash flow.
right. I'm trying to kind of knock that into the guy's head because he's like, "Oh, we'll check out this property." And I'm like, "Well, I did." And I keep sending him screenshots of my calculator and being like, "This is what I'm getting." And I even sent him like my buy box too. I rewatched last week's call because I missed it on, I think it was Thursday, when you were talking about buy boxes. So I even I took notes, was like, this is where I'm comfortable. Here's my buy box. And I said it has to be cash flowing. And so then he'll send me all the info and he'll be like, this all looks good, this all looks good. And then I'll run it and then it's not good. And then I'm like, here's what I got. Let me know if I'm wrong. Because I'm not
Yeah.
saying, I don't want to be like, come off like you're wrong. And then he'll go like, no, you're right. And
Yep.
I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do with that?
I never,
So I was
so
just
I
curious
never,
here.
I'll explain my buy box. I will never show a broker my math.
Gotcha. Okay.
I just
Okay.
found that
Understood.
there's never any advantage to me to do that
Gotcha. Okay.
because they're just going to try to poke holes in it and sell their way through it. And that's not what I'm trying to do.
Gotcha.
I don't need them to poke holes in what I'm doing. I just need them to do their job and let me buy the listing.
Fair.
Brokers sometimes annoy me.
Okay. Fair. I had one more question for you about oh yeah. And they're like trying to hook me up with like a DSCR lender, like a recommended lender. I'm like, great, you're sending me recommendations and stuff, but I don't know if DSCR is the way to go for some of these deals. That's
Yeah, it's just an option. It's good to have in your Rolodex, but always choose the debt product that makes the most sense for your deal.
Gotcha. Okay. And this one guy, this guy in Fresno, I asked him the question, is there anything else I should know before I make a decision? And he goes, make sure to register for all information. I don't know what that means. Super, super vague. And I've tried to call the guy. He won't call me. He'll like just text me.
I don't know that I have a specific recommendation for that.
I thought you froze. You were just, I thought
No,
I lost
no, I was
signal.
just thinking. I was just like, man, do I have anything for this? I don't have anything for this. Some contacts are less helpful than others.
Okay. Okay. And my last question was, is I found some place out in Phoenix and the broker just reached out to me. Um, he mentioned the seller is negotiable in this particular deal. And I was curious how you think I should respond to this text.
Whenever the seller's negotiable, I always will let them know where the deal works, and then that is the offer that I will submit.
Okay. Sounds good.
So I will work the deal and go like, okay, if they're negotiable, this is what I was thinking for negotiation. This is where I'm a buyer.
Okay. And if I'm putting, say I'm like trying to do seller finance for like 10% down. Conventional, you said is usually 20%, correct?
Depending on how good the deal is, 20 to 30% down, depending on
Okay.
the deal. My last 5 bank ones have all been 80%.
Gotcha. Okay.
LTV, so 20% down.
Gotcha. Okay. And so if I am doing conventional and I'm leaving it at 20 to 25% in the calculator and I'm getting negative cash flow, is the one factor that has to be adjusted just the fact that it's overpriced and I just need a lower.
If it's bank financed, the convenient and inconvenient thing is that you have to negotiate price.
Gotcha.
It's convenient in that you know exactly what you need to do. There's not a lot of creative levers to pull. It's inconvenient in that you're limited on how creative you can get.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. That's it for me.
Perfect.
All right,
I
thanks.
need to get onto that interview for my employees. Speaking of employment, I see there's still a few hands up. I apologize, Iris and Mark, for your second question. My phone number and I think you guys will have it, but I just posted it in the chat as well. It is also the Zoom code. So if you look at the Zoom link, 425-336-9332 is the end of that link. You guys can text me a question. I'll get to them. Oh my gosh, I totally typed a 7 instead of a 2. Ignore the 7. It's a 2. I promise it's a 2. 425-336-9332. I got my number and my wife's phone number mixed up, which are very, very similar. So that is my phone number, the second one. You guys are welcome to text me a question. I'll get back to you guys right after I interview this potential new employee. So I will talk to you all soon. I'll see you guys on tomorrow's deal deep dive. And fun questions today, everyone. This was I enjoyed this a lot, as I always do. Corey as well. Feel free to shoot me a text. Sorry I couldn't get to quite everyone, but we got very, very close. I'll talk to everyone tomorrow.
Thanks, Christian. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.